I'm alive. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back for another stream. The international break is finally over. FPL is back. Are we glad the break's over? Are we happy to see Premier League football back on our TVs? I can't wait. It feels like it's been a very long 2 weeks without the Premier League. It's been a pretty disruptive month or so, hasn't it? With the postponements and whatnot, with the Queen's death, etc., and then the international break. But we're back in full swing now. No breaks all the way up until the World Cup. So FPL's back, well and truly back. We're back for a live stream. Hopefully you can all hear me this morning after the last stream had some technical issues. Looks all good in the chat. So good to have you all here. Massive turnout already. Great to have you all here. Thank you to Austin, who's renewed for 9 months. He says, morning, Oscar, and everyone in the chat. Morning, Austin. I saw Tom Brady in the chat. He says it's 4 a.m. in Canada. Shout out to Tom. Where's everyone tuned in from this morning? Or perhaps afternoon, depending on where you're from. It's 9:30 this morning, and I decided I'm going to start the stream early today. I've not had the best start to the weekend, so I broke my bed. Don't ask how. And I ordered a new bed from IKEA. And they sent me a message yesterday saying it's going to be delivered at 7 a.m. this morning. 7 a.m. on a Saturday. So I got up at 7, which is really early for me because I'm not a morning person. I'm normally up until 1. I was last night. And when it arrived, they swung open the lorry doors, or whatever you call them in Canada and America, truck doors. And the bed was broken, so I couldn't even receive the bed. So I got up early for nothing. So then I thought, well, I'm going to do an earlier stream than usual. So we're doing a 90-minute stream instead. So welcome to the stream, everyone. We've got Australia, Ukraine, Portugal, Nepal, Canada, Norway, Nigeria, Huddersfield, Finland. Great to have you all here for this deadline stream. Looking forward to this. And I seem to have an Isak-shaped hole in my team, so I need to sort that out still. So yeah, Isak's going to leave the team, and it was between Solanke and Tony for me, and it's not going to be Solanke. Everyone's talking about Solanke, but not for me. No, I'm not getting Solanke. I think he's a decent pick, like 5.7 mil. Okay, yeah, you don't expect him to pull up roots. He's not going to completely haul. He's not going to be a consistent scorer. You know, Bournemouth, I think they're worst in the league for expected goals this season so far. So 5.7 mil, you don't expect much from someone like Solanke, but for me, I'm going to go with the proven Tony. And he's a bit of a gut feel pick. I think that he's got a point to prove after getting called up on international duty. And he didn't get a single minute for Southgate, which I think is harsh. So I think he's got a point to prove in these, 7-8 game weeks before the World Cup. So I think he's going to be very hungry. Maybe a little bit annoyed that he didn't get a chance to represent his country, because that's every footballer's dream. So, yeah, he's got a point to prove. And there's a few players like that, like Alexander-Arnold. He's got a point to prove. You know, Southgate's saying he's got a lot to work on before he's considered for selection. So, yeah, I think there's a few players like that we should be thinking about as we lead up to the World Cup. Who's got a point to prove? Who is still on the brink of getting called up or perhaps not? Russell says Solanke's a trap. He prefers a 6 mil defender. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's you know, you could go a 4.3 mil forward like Archer instead, and then get a 6 mil defender. You know, someone like Reece James or Trippier. Why Everson? Lots of questions about Everson. So I'm basing this one purely on the clean sheet odds, and Leicester have about a 5% higher chance of keeping a clean sheet. It's not much, it's fine margins, but I do think that this break fell nicely for Leicester to come back and perhaps turn it around, start playing better. And it's the best fixture that they've had of the season so far, home to Forest. So I think I'm going to go for Everson just in case he gets the nod over Ward. I actually don't think he does. I think probably Ward continues playing, but you know, just in case. And it does save me from the double up against Mitrovic, because it's a home fixture for Mitrovic. And Fulham, really good at home. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they've scored 2 or more in every home game this season. So that's the thinking there. Spread the risk a bit, and it's actually marginally likely to keep a clean sheet. But Ward could start, to be honest with you. We don't know. Hasselville says, what stupidity is this? That's my logic. It's not as crazy as it sounds, right? Some people are going with Ward and Everson on the wild card, so... But yeah, like Ali Robb says, Ward will start. I wouldn't be surprised if Ward starts, but he's there just in case. It's not like he's going to come off the bench for Ward. I hope. You know, if Ward gets an injury and Everson comes on late, then yeah, that would be brutal, but that's the thinking. Bubble says, Captain Salah. I think Salah's a really good captain this week. We'll do a captain poll in a bit. I think he's a really, really strong captain option as an alternative to Haaland, who obviously most of us will be on. And we'll look at projected points shortly as well. And Salah is actually top marginally on the projections for this game week. Scored twice for Egypt over the break. He was given the second game off for Egypt. It was a friendly match. He was given the second game off to come back early and focus on Gameweek 9 for Liverpool. So I think Salah's a really good option for captaincy. If I had him, I would be very, very tempted, but I don't. So it has to be Haaland. Dylan says, Oscar, my love, am I crazy to put the armband on Louise? I think that's a very bold one going on Louise. You know, Jota's back from injury, so, you know, it could be Darwin, it could be Diaz, could be neither, but one of them could get hooked at some point for Jota. So I don't think I would go there. I think I would stick with the big hitters. Gianna says, why Trippier and Mitrovic? It just happens sometimes. Sometimes you have your strikers playing your defenders. It's not ideal, but it does happen. You just have to look at the longer term picture. You know, FPL's not played this game week only, and obviously this game week it's not ideal because Mitrovic does play against Trippier and Pope, who I have benched. He may end up coming off the bench, but it does happen sometimes, as long as it just doesn't happen all the time or too much. Andreas, thank you for the 9 months as well. He says, on a wildcard, do I get Trippier with 0.6 mil left over or James with 0 mil? I think James. I think I would go for James over Trippier, as long as it doesn't block any other potential moves in your team. You know, some people, for example, I've got De Bruyne and they're planning a transfer to Salah. Something like that. As long as it doesn't block other potential moves that you may make otherwise, I would say James. Yeah, thanks for the 9 months. If anyone's interested in becoming a member or a patron, it's the links below in the description, or there's a join button below the stream. You get some perks like early access to my videos. You get a badge by your name. There's a private channel on the Discord where I'm online chatting every day. So for those interested in supporting the channel, that's how you do it. Bubble says captaincy poll. Let's do it. Let's do the captain poll. We'll maybe do a second one later because I think some people are still waking up. 20 to 10 in the UK here. So who is your captain for Gameweek 9? Who are the options then? So we've got Salah, we've got Haaland. Who are the standout alternatives? Maddison and other. You only get to do 4 options. That's the problem. We'll go with that. Maybe De Bruyne's a better alternative to Maddison. I'll put other and we'll see how many others we get. Get your votes in. Captain poll is up. Got 1,300 tuned in already as well, by the way, which is incredible. Do hit like on the stream. I hate to ask, but it makes a difference. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're not. As most of you know, I do lots of FPL content every week and deadline streams like this one. We cover everything you need to know in a deadline stream. Like we'll do a news roundup in a minute, Kings of the Gaming, predicted points, bookies odds, the transfer trends, and lots more. Schnapp says, Guaita or Ward to start? Ward, yeah, definitely Ward, if I had Ward and Guaita. How's the poll looking? 58% on Haaland. That's lower than I thought, actually. 20% on Salah, 14% on Maddison, 9% on other. Those of you that watched the experts video this week might remember that the top transfer in among the experts is Maddison. About a quarter of them had brought in Maddison this week alone. Corey says, why is no one talking about Son? I think a lot of people are talking about Son. He's just had one good game. Perhaps that's on people's minds. They're not sure yet if it's time to move for him or not. You know, last season he was essential towards the end of the season. But, you know, he's only had one good game, so perhaps people are a bit hesitant to go there yet. He does have a good record against Arsenal. 4 goals, 4 assists in his last 6 games. So don't get me wrong, Son's a good pick. Maybe it's a bit of an awkward price as well because we've all got Haaland and many of us have got another big premium like De Bruyne or Salah. So if you go for Son, that takes a lot of money out of other spots like Maddison, Zaha, Mitrovic, etc. Usama says, what are your transfer plans this game week? I'm planning to do Isak to Tony. That's the plan. Tony's going to join the team. I'm not personally getting on the Solanke hype train. I don't think it's a bad pick by any means, but I'm going for Tony. Daniel says, what are you drinking today? Share with us. I've got a cup of tea and it's my mug. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, it's not going to reflect very well. fplfocal, former #1 in the world. FPL merch made that and sent that to me. How cool is that? Shout out to FPL merch. Top guy Ross. Former #1 in the world. Got it on the mug. Milking it a bit, aren't I? No, yeah, he sent it to me completely free, so that was really cool of him. Mark says he was forced to wildcard in Game Week 8. Lucky to have a fully fit squad after the international break. Good luck this Game Week. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm the same. Well, apart from Isak, but Isak was a very short-term pick. I was a little bit worried about wildcarding in 8 because, you know, if I had 2 injuries over the break, I'm already taking a -4 straight after a wildcard. But it's not too bad. I don't mind sending Isak now, really. You know, I got his 9 points, so I don't actually mind too much. I'll take the points and run. We'll stop the poll. Yeah, no surprises that Haaland won that one. We'll do some more polls later. So get your questions in, potential poll questions. Maybe we'll do one like De Bruyne or Salah on a wildcard. Rennie says, any thoughts on Vardy? Yeah, Vardy's come up quite a bit in my video comments this week. I do still read all your comments on my videos, by the way. A lot of people have been talking about Vardy. My worry is he's been benched for the last 2 games in a row. Obviously, if he starts, he's going to be an exceptional pick for the next 5, but it's a big gamble. Not one that I'm willing to take, and it's not a cheap gamble either. How much? He's like 9 mil, isn't he? So he's not even cheap. So not for me. You know, Daka's started the last 2 in a row, but again, that's not enough for me to consider Daka. If he'd started maybe the last 4 in a row, I might have considered it. And if he does continue starting, by the way, he's a better pick for the same price as Solanke. But for me, it's Tony that's coming in for Isak. Mitchell says, why Everson and not Ward? I figured I'm probably not going to actually use Ward much. You know, maybe this game week and that's it. So I thought I'd rather just have the extra 0.1 mil. And also Ward did actually block potential transfer plans, which have gone out the window already because of the Isak injury. But having Ward blocked me from getting Salah further down the line. So that was the other reason as well. But I'm starting Everson just in case. You know, Leicester have been just shocking so far. I think they've conceded a record number of goals over the opening 7 games played. So my thinking was, can it get worse? Surely it can't get any worse. You know, last season, Everson was player of the season for Preston in the Championship. Maybe he's only a Championship level keeper, but you'd argue that he deserves a chance. So I'm starting him just in case. Superfun Alex says, I love your voice. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. I get a lot of comments about my voice. I didn't realise that I had such a pleasing voice. If FPL doesn't work out, I'll do, you know, there's those apps where, what's it called? Calm. Where people are like talk in a relaxing voice to put you to sleep. That'd be my backup gig if FPL doesn't work out. Chef, has any early team news? Nothing at the moment. I'll keep an eye out just in case. It is the North London derby, first game of the day. What do we think? Scoreline predictions, Arsenal v Tottenham, playing at the Emirates. I wonder how Conte's going to line up. Might be a front 2 with no Richarlison or Kulusevski. ASMR, that's it. So Lankster says, have you wildcarded? Yeah, I wildcarded last game week. Kim says, what do you think about Salah this game week? I think he's a great pick this game week, definitely. He's top of the projections. We'll have a look at that in a minute, actually. We'll do the news roundup first before I forget. But I think Salah's great for this game week, definitely. I'd be tempted to captain him if I had him, but I don't, so it's got to be Salah. Let's do the news roundup. Starting off with Fulham. Some of you might have seen that Mitrovic picked up a knock over the break, and he was spotted with ice around his ankle. Silva said in the first game, as you know, he came off after the third goal, and the last game he played the 90 minutes. We have to assess him to see, but he will be available. So sounds good. Sounds like no concerns there as far as Mitrovic owners are concerned. Some Chelsea news. Potter's confirmed that Cucurella will miss the trip to Palace after falling ill over the break. No Cucurella, FYI, those of you that still have him. Some Liverpool news. No Andy Robertson, Curtis Jones or Ox. Robertson's the main one there. So maybe if you're looking for a very short-term pump, Simicast will get the nod over Robertson for the next game, maybe next 2 games if he does really well. But yeah, no Robertson this game week. Arsenal confirmed that Smith Rowe has undergone surgery to repair a damaged tendon in his groin. So Smith Rowe won't return till training till December. So yeah, no competition whatsoever for Martinelli. So Martinelli still looks like a great pick, and I'm planning to keep hold. The next 2 aren't great fixtures. They are at home though, but long term, I think he's fine to hold. And obviously a lot of us picked him up very cheap. I got him for 6 mil, and now he's 6.6, so it's a very difficult sell for me. I'm happy to keep hold. Thanks for donation, Ross. He says, who's the best 7 mil midfielder or below? I'm looking to -4 Isak out and upgrade Bailey. Or should I just go Isak to Mitrovic? I have Haaland and Kane. Yeah, I wouldn't do the -4. Isak to Mitrovic is a no-brainer, in my opinion. I can't even think of a good sub-7 mil midfielder. Zaha's just over that. I think he's 7.3 now. I think he went up last night. By the way, did you guys see that Salah went down last night? Not sure about that one. That one's got potential to go horribly wrong for those that sold him. But yeah, I would just do Isak to Mitrovic. I wouldn't do a -4. You know, look at Mitrovic's next 5 fixtures. Spontaz says, what's your plan? I'm doing Isak to Tony. And that's it. I did look at a few other options, like Isak to Solanke, De Bruyne to Salah for a -4. But no, I'm just going to go for Tony and leave it at that. Tom Brady for triple captain. Sinistera. Yeah, I like the Sinistera pick. I've seen him in a few wildcard drafts. Good fixture for Leeds. Yeah, I don't hate it. But I think on a wildcard, my midfield would be Maddison, Salah, Martinelli, Zaha and Andreas. So there'd be no room for Sinistera if I was on a wildcard, personally. Janega says, would you sell Isak for a -4 to anyone? Or if no hit, I'll just play Rico Henry versus Bournemouth and hope that Isak is fit in 1 to 2 weeks. But I'm also tempted by Tony or Wilson. Difficult one, that. I would be tempted by Tony, not Wilson. I think Wilson's just not worth it. He probably will do well over the next 2, but he's just such an injury risk. He's got the worst injury record that I don't think I'd go there. So if it was a -4, it'd be Tony or no one. I wouldn't go for Solanke or Wilson. I think I'd just play Henry. I think I would just leave it as Henry. I think I'd avoid the -4 this week. And then you could bring in Tony in game week 10 instead. I think I wouldn't take the -4. Close one. I think I'd avoid the -4. But I'm very hit adverse. Adverse, is that the right word? Hit adverse. I try to avoid hits whenever I can, basically. So I probably wouldn't do that if it was my team. I would just stick with Henry. So, guesses in the chat. Who's going to be the Gameweek 9 king of the game week? It was Son all the way back in game week 8 with his 19-pointer. Guesses in the chat. Who's going to be the top scorer of game week 9? Those that are on the Discord will know we've got a channel for this where you can play a game and you can win a role if you win. And my guess was Maddison. But the way it works on Discord is you can only guess a player that hasn't been guessed before you in the chat. Obviously works different on the live stream. But guesses in the chat, whoever you think it's going to be. Sterling, Salah, Vardy, Anthony. If it's Anthony, Fofana, Salah, Haaland, Maddison or Gross, Ward, Darwin. Darwin's an interesting one. You know what? Imagine Darwin gets a hat-trick this weekend. We'll all be scratching our head again just when it looks like the template is shifted to a new template. Shows how fast things change, by the way. You know, back in Gameweek 1 to 4, the template was a back 5, wasn't it? Premium defenders, Cancelo, Trent, Diaz, Trippier, Robertson, all of that. And then now it's shifted to a back 3. Shows how fast things change. Kane, Sinistera, Aubameyang, Rodrigo. Interesting. We'll see. Yeah, my guess was Maddison. Just realised I forgot to get the Scout Selection screenshot ready for this stream. Let me just do that. We always like to have a look at the Scout Selection, see who they've backed, and pick it apart. I have to say this season their picks have actually been pretty solid, so... Is that going to load? I better mute the audio in case I get demonetized. There we go. So it's there. Bear with me, chat. And then we'll have a look at the Scout Selection. Oh, did that sound come through on the stream? That was loud. Need to turn Windows sounds down. I'll figure out how to turn that off for streams. That was deafening. Alright. Scout Selection for Gameweek 9 is as follows. I'll read it out just in case anyone's listening with audio only. I actually don't know if anyone does that or not. If anyone just listens with the stream on in the background. If you're listening to this with the sound on in the background, quickly jump in chat and just say, yeah, that's me. Because I always wonder that. This season I've been doing podcasts out of my videos, which has been doing quite well, actually. It was like the top 10 ranked FPL podcast, and I'm not even a podcast channel. So they got Melia in goal. Back 4 of Trent, Cancelo, James and Zuma. Midfield is Salah, vice-captain. Maddison, Bernardo, Martinelli. Haaland, captain. And then Tony. 4-4-2. What do we think? Oh, quite a few do that. Games battles. Farhad. Oh, loads of you just listen to the sound. Okay. Interesting. I always thought these were quite a visual thing, the deadline streams, but maybe the sound is just enough. Oh my god, so many of you are doing it. No way. Okay. That's blown my mind. That's blown my mind. You got it minimized. Okay, fair enough. Love that. Okay. There we go. Keep your questions coming in. We've got about 1,500 tuned in. If you are enjoying the stream so far, even if you're listening to it in the background, drop it a quick like. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I do appreciate all your support. We recently hit 120k subscribers over the break, by the way. Crazy milestone. And YouTube recently verified me as well, which is really cool to have the little check by the name. Sound only. Steve says he's a pod listener. Love that I've added that option. Yeah, glad to. I'm glad it's doing well, actually, the podcast. I didn't think it would. I wasn't sure what to expect. Yeah, it's doing quite well. For those interested, it's in my Twitter bio. In fact, it's probably in the description as well. I upload my videos in podcast format on all podcast platforms like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Martial says, are you replacing Isak? I am, yeah. Maybe I'll make that transfer in a minute. My plan is to go Isak to Tony. Annoyingly, I wish I'd made that move earlier in the week now. I missed out on his price rise, which might cock up my transfer plans. I might get away with it because Salah dropped last night, which I wasn't expecting. But it's going to be very close. I think I'll go Saka to Zaha in Gameweek 10. Maybe De Bruyne to Salah in Gameweek 11. And then maybe Cancelo to Trent, Gameweek 12. Something like that. Afif says, I want a wild card. Best replacement for Cancelo. Best replacement for Cancelo would be Trent and James for me. Those would be the two I would have. Difficult to choose which between them if you have to choose one. Maybe Trent. He's got a better fixture this week. Better fixture in 12. But they're both really good picks. And I'd have both on a wild card personally. Yeah, Tony's 7.3 now, which is a fair bit more than Solanke, to be fair. You know, you got to compare apples to apples. And those two apples and oranges, you know, Solanke's not going to have nearly the same points as Tony over the season. But he is 1.6 mil less, which is a lot, and you can do a lot with that money. But yeah, for me, I'm not going there. I'm going for Tony. Avishek says, Kane, Haaland, Mitrovic, Diaz, Sterling works. It depends on the rest of your team. I'm sure you can make that work. You know, a lot of people have got a midfielder around that 8 mil price point. You've got Diaz. Sterling's a really interesting one. I've seen him in a few wildcard drafts. Even a few of the experts have picked him up from the expert series, those of you that watch that. So I don't hate the Sterling pick. It just depends on how much that affects the rest of your team balance. But I don't hate it at all. I'm not sure about Diaz. I think I'd prefer Maddison, but if you're not on a wildcard, then that's fine. Ross says, are you 100% Tony? 100%. Unless we get news in the next hour that he's injured or something, but that's not going to happen. I'll lock it in a minute, and then I'll tweet it as usual. Ralph says, do the transfer. What's the rush? I will do it. It's 100% going to be Tony. I'm just sitting on it for a minute, just in case we get any news. But yeah, it's 99.9% going to be Tony. The only thing that would change it now is if there was an injury that came out to another player in my team that was more pressing. But even then, I might just do a -4. Keep your questions coming in, and thank you all for tuning into this deadline stream. I do appreciate it. We're going for the full 90 minutes today, so we've got another hour to go, and I appreciate you all being here for this deadline stream. Gameweek 9, FPL is back, international break's over. Are we looking forward to FPL being back? Premier League football back on TV? I can't wait. I hate international breaks. And also from a YouTuber perspective, everything kind of slows down. You know, quite rightly, people don't care about FPL as much when there's breaks on. So views go down, you know, like subscriber growth slows down. So yeah, I hate the international breaks. So I'm glad FPL's back, and the momentum is back, and the wind is in our sails. So I appreciate you all being here. And good fixtures today. North London derby, first game of the day. Raya or Neto as goalkeeper? I would say Raya. Benching Pope. I am benching Pope just because Leicester's clean sheet odds are slightly better. There's not much in it, but I've already got Trippier, so it also leaves me a bit less exposed. Ward would probably start, to be honest with you, but just in case, I'm starting Everson. Need to lock in this transfer in a minute. So yeah, the plan is I'm going to go Isak to Tony. Like that. Maybe I'll just talk about my loose long-term transfer plans. So that leaves me with 0.1 mil in the bank. I'm really glad that I left myself a bit of cash in the bank, by the way, on the wild card. And then I'll probably do Saka to Zaha. And then that leaves me with 0.6. So I've got quite lucky with the Salah drop. If he doesn't go back up, and if De Bruyne doesn't drop, then I've got enough for De Bruyne to Salah. So that's one option there. I could do that. And then maybe I'll take a -4 and 12 to do Cancelo to Trent or something like that. That's the loose plan. Thank you for the donation, S. Jaspersky. He says, Son and Isak out for Sterling and Tony, -4. What do you think? Thank you. I do not possess the funds for Tony alone. I wouldn't sell Son for a -4. That's got potential to go horribly wrong. You know, he's got a hat-trick last game week. Doesn't seem like the right time to be selling Son. And we were saying earlier, he's got a really good record against Arsenal. In his last 6 against Arsenal, he's got 4 goals and 4 assists. So I don't think I would take a -4 to sell a player who's just scored a hat-trick. Doesn't seem logical to me. It's not a transfer I would ever make anyway. I understand the issue with Isak. Perhaps you could just start someone else like Andreas for 1 week. Just ride it out. There must be someone else in your team you can start. Failing that, if you literally are down to 10 men, then I would just go Isak to Solanke. Thank you, Akshay, for the donation as well. Appreciate that. There's no message with that one. Appreciate that. Thank you, crewmate, for becoming an FPL focal member. Thank you for the support. Appreciate that. If anyone's interested in becoming a member or patron, it's the join button below the stream, or there's links in the description to membership or patron. They're both exactly the same. You get early access to my videos. There's a private channel on Discord. You get a badge by your name, a few goodies like that, and it supports the channel for like £2. So yeah, thank you for all those who do support the channel and are members. But you don't have to become a member to support the channel either. Just tuning into these streams and watching my videos supports the channel as well. So thank you all. New member from Thailand, crewmate. Thank you for that. Can't afford Tony help. If you can't afford Tony, then I think it has to be Solanke. Definitely not bench boosting this week. No, I'll save the bench boost. As we know, all teams have a postponement. So there's going to be a huge double game week later in the season. I think I can actually pull it up here. Let me just find it. So there's 14 fixtures already to be rearranged. 14. And some of these are like Arsenal have got 2, City have got 2, United have got 2. So there's going to be a lot of double game weeks to come later in the season. There's a small chance we'll even get a double game week before the World Cup. Maybe for Brighton and Crystal Palace. But yeah, 14 postponements already. So that's a lot of double game week fixtures already to come. So I would definitely save the bench boost. I would definitely save the free hit. I would definitely save the triple captain. I know some people will have used theirs already in chat, but if you haven't, then that's what I would do. Albacedi says, Bailey or Andreas, who to start? I think Bailey just edges it. I think he's got more upside than Andreas this week. But he's a risky one, so it depends on your risk tolerance. Just if you start Bailey, you have to accept the risk that he might be benched. I think it'd be Bailey for me if I was choosing between the two. Andreas first on bench. Is Solanke even good for Bournemouth? Last season he was phenomenal. Of course that was the Championship, which is a level below. But he scored 29 times, 7 assists last season in the Championship. So really good numbers. He's got a good record. He is their talisman. He's on penalty duties. But they've really struggled this season. They are by far worst in the league for expected goals. They have had some difficult fixtures, obviously. Perhaps the worst fixtures of all teams to open the season. But yeah, you get what you pay for. He's 5.7 mil. No doubt he'll chip him with a goal here and there. So he's not a bad shout by any means. Zach says, "Who do you think Josh? Do you think Josh Da Silva will start? He's captain." I actually don't know what his minutes have looked like recently. Let's have a look. If he's been starting, then I would say yeah. I expect that to continue. I believe he's been coming off early some games, has he not? Where is he? There he is. I mean, he started the last one and he was benched twice before. So I wouldn't bet on it. He's not a player I would realistically want to have in my team either. You know, he scored in these opening 2 game weeks and his expected goals were extremely low from those 2 goals scored. So it was kind of a statistical anomaly, basically. So he's not a player I would really want in my team. I'd rather have Andreas than Da Silva. Yeah, it looks like a coin toss. No one could say whether he starts or not. Maybe Brentford fans, if there's any in the chat, will know. But I'm not sure, to be honest with you, on that one. Do we know when Isak's back? I think I read he's back in light training, so he could be back for Game Week 10 even. But Eddie Howe's always a bit of a liar in his press conferences. I think he said for about the last 3 or 4 game weeks that St. Maximan's back any minute now, and he's still not back, so we'll see. We've got the projections for Game Week 9. These are from FPL Review, the top predicted points. Salah's top, by the way. Not by much, but Salah's top. Haaland second. De Bruyne third. Trent, Maddison, Mitrovic, Kane, Tony, Bamford and Saka. How many players from this list have you guys got? There's 10 here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 10. That's not bad, actually. How many have you guys got? I think if you've got 7 or more, then you're looking good for this game week. Akshay says, same team as you, but I'm 0.1 mil short for Tony. Do I go for Solanke or do Zaha and Tony as a -4 for Saka and Isak? It depends who you have to bench Isak for. I think I would do the -4. I think I would go Zaha and Tony. Those are two really good moves to get ahead of the curve. So I think I would do option B there. Unless you've got a good option to start over Isak, then option B, Akshay. That hit may not be repaid this week, but I think it's two very good moves because that's where the template is heading. 4, 5, 7, 6. Oh, I've got 6. Yeah, so 7 after Tony, I think, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, let's make that transfer now. Right, so Isak to Tony, confirmed transfer, done. Just refresh that. So that's the transfer done. I've done Isak to Tony. I'm starting to verse him. Let's take a screenshot. Stick that up on Twitter. As always. There we go. Wait for Twitter to load. Right, there we go. Here come the comments about using light mode. Do you guys use light mode or dark mode? I use dark mode on Discord, but light mode on Twitter and YouTube. Isak to... should I say anything about Solanke? About the Solanke train? Just leave it at that. Straight to the point, isn't it? Haaland captain, Madison Vice, looks good. Perfect. Tweeted. By the way, tag me in a photo, guys, wherever you're watching this stream from, wherever you are in the world. I love to see the photos of wherever you guys are tuning in from, and I will retweet it. It's a bit of a mix. Oh, most people use dark mode. Okay. Yeah, I use dark mode on Discord. I think it's a crime to use light mode on Discord. Anyone that uses... Oops, speaking of, let me mute Discord. Anyone that uses light mode on Discord needs to be arrested. But, no, I use light mode on Twitter, which I think might be a bit of a bad take as well. I'm just so, like, used to it now that I can't go back. In fact, speaking of Discord, if anyone's not a member of the fplfocal Discord, it's a genuinely good FPL resource. We've got automated channels here for things like the price changes. I saw Salah went down, by the way. Lineups, live scores, live points, bonus points, Gameweek stats, injury updates, and you can even pick which alerts you want to receive. So, for example, if you want to get the price changes on your phone every night, then you can just click that, and then boom, you got it. So I'll chuck a link in the chat for those that aren't a member already. And I will be there straight after this stream ends, and probably on there throughout the day today in the live match channel. The live match channel gets a bit mental during the games. It's going to be wild today during the 3 o'clock games. So there we go, link in the chat. Keep your questions coming in. And as I said earlier, I appreciate you all tuning into this deadline stream. It's been a great stream so far. I really enjoyed it. Went for the whole 90-minute stream today, as opposed to the usual 60-minute. So if you have enjoyed the stream, please do hit like on it. I hate to ask, but it does help the YouTube algorithm. So every time you like one of my videos or comment, it does help the YouTube algorithm. So I appreciate you doing that. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Mohammed says, Cancelo to Trent for a hit. Not for a hit, definitely not. We'll have a look at the clean sheet odds now. And City are second, so I wouldn't make that move personally. I think it's a wasted transfer to go Cancelo to Trent for a hit. I would just leave that transfer now until game week 12. Because let's not forget, City are home to Southampton in game week 10. Incredible fixture as well. It's just this week that City had the better fixture, so I would not make that move myself. Thank you for the donation as well. Zani, he says, hey Oscar, between Tony Diaz, Kane and De Bruyne, who would you captain? Cheers. It's between De Bruyne and Kane for me. we'll have a quick look at the predicted points again. I think I would probably go De Bruyne. He is third on the projections, to be fair. FPL reviews projections for Gameweek 9 with 5.5, but there's not much in it. You know, Kane's got really good record against Arsenal. 4.8 predicted points for him. I'm hoping that because Partey's back for Arsenal, he'll have a massive impact. He certainly has done this season and last season. You know, Arsenal completely fell apart last season when Partey got injured, and they missed out on top 4, mainly because of that, in my opinion. And if we look at this season, before he got injured, they kept 2 clean sheets in 3, and then he got injured, and Arsenal kept no clean sheets. And then he was back last game week 8, and they kept a clean sheet again. He's a massive, massive presence, Partey. Really, really underrated for what he brings to the team. So I would go De Bruyne captain. Start Perisic or Fofana. I think you got to chase the upside there, which is Perisic. Sufal or Zuma. Perisic or Trippier. Mikey says, I'm shitting myself for this derby. So am I. I'm an Arsenal fan, and I'm dreading it. I'm absolutely. My brother, I feel bad for this. I don't know if he's tuned in, actually. My brother said he might swing by on the stream. He asked about potentially watching the game together, and I just said no, because I can't do it. When it's massive, massive games, I just can't watch it with anyone. He's a Chelsea fan. When Arsenal play Chelsea, there's no chance I'll watch it with them. My family are all Chelsea and I'm Arsenal. When Arsenal play Chelsea, I'm watching that game on my own. There's too much tension in the room if I'm watching it with them. Which sounds ridiculous, but there we go. Mr. Super Chat, sorry, let me scroll up. Bear with me. Where was it? Oh, there we go. Jack Milner says, start 2 out of Mitrovic, Bailey, Perisic and Emerson. Mitrovic shouldn't even be in the debate there. You definitely start Mitro. It's between Bailey and Perisic. The problem with Emerson, if he starts, he's a great pick, but there's every chance he just comes on in stoppage time again for a 1-pointer. So I probably would avoid that risk. So it's between Bailey and Perisic. I think I would start Bailey just about over Perisic. Really close on that. Mitro and Bailey. Faisal says, Maddison captain, okay. I think it's fine. We'll do another captain poll because when we did one at the very start of the stream, we had not nearly as many tuned in. Everyone's still waking up. I'm still waking up. I'm on my second tea of the day. Who's your captain for Game Week 9? So we'll go Haaland, Salah. We will include Maddison on here because I think he's probably going to be the 3rd most popular. And then we'll just do other as the 4th option. Get your votes in on the poll, which will come up on your screen now. Tony captain. Yeah, Tony's not a bad shout either. Bench Saliba or Martinelli? I would bench Saliba. First on bench, Andreas or Emerson? Andreas. Thoughts on Antonio? Not for me. He's not been doing very well this season, and they've got Scamacca, who could displace him. You know, we could see Antonio on the bench, to be fair. Starting Ovieson, is that a good idea? I'm starting him. You know, Leicester have got better clean sheet odds. That's purely what it is. He may not even make the starting 11, to be fair. It may be Ward that starts again. But that's my plan. Missed another super chat. Sorry, I do apologise. Or are you trolling? No, you did. Sorry, I missed that. Is Saka to Zaha from -4 this game week or risk being priced out? How could you be priced out though? Because Saka's way more. Or do you mean priced out of another move? I wouldn't do it from -4. There's always another route you can take with transfers. I looked at the -4 as well. I was up to I was up till 1 AM last night debating the Saka to Zaha from -4 myself. Up to 1 AM. It's ridiculous. Like, what am I doing with myself? And I have to say, in the past, one thing I've noticed about myself is the more time I spend deliberating a transfer, the likelier I am to do it. And that's not always the right thing to do. I think there's some kind of psychological thing there where if you've invested more time on something, you feel more compelled to go with what you spent the time on. Yeah, and I was up till 1 a.m. Debating Saka to Zaha, and I didn't do it, even though I spent a long time deciding that one. So not for me. There's always other routes. That's why I basically decided. Haaland 66% on the captain poll. Salah in second 16. Maddison on 10%. And 8% for other. Thank you all for voting. There is definitely that psychological side to FPL, which is perhaps where FPL Raptor excels with his background in psychology. We're really subject to biases, which is why I try to follow the data as often as possible with a bit of my own opinion sprinkled in here and there, because the data doesn't lie, basically. Start Zaha or Martinelli? That's a really difficult one. Start Zaha or Martinelli? I think Martinelli. Oh, that's a close one though. You know what? I did read that Chelsea are without Kante and Cucurella, so I think Zaha just edges it. Just. Let me know in the chat who you'd start between Zaha and Martinelli. I don't know if you guys noticed, by the way, but I tidied up the stream layout. A little bit cleaner now. As I was saying, I had not the best start to the weekend. I was up at 7 a.m. for an IKEA delivery, and when they opened the lorry, it was broken. So I was up early for nothing, basically. Up at 7 a.m. Why do they deliver at 7 a.m. on a Saturday? What's that about? So I had so much time that I thought I would tidy up the stream layout. Hope you like it. Mo Omar says, hey Oscar, ideal goalkeeper pair on a wildcard. I think I would have... See, Guaita and Ward is good, but arguably both are a bit of a risk. Guaita missed games last season. Ward could lose his spot, who knows. So I think I would go Raya and Ward on a wildcard. You've still got time to watch. I did a couple of wildcard videos over the break. I did a video on how my team would look if I was wildcarding, and then I did a video on the optimal wildcard according to the data, which I just basically ran through an optimizer to pump out the optimal wildcard team. So that's you've got loads of time to watch that. Just scroll to the end. You don't even have to watch the whole thing just to see the team. They're very similar teams, to be fair, so it's good to know that my picks weren't far off the optimizer's opinion of the best wildcard. Ribena says, what's your rank this season? Oh, where's my rank gone? I've just noticed that it's not even there on the... I didn't even notice that. What have I done there? No total transfers. Right, so I'm on 451 points and I'm 320k. I don't know how I didn't notice that, but it's completely empty top right. Yeah, I'm 320k at the moment. It's not bad. I would like to be a bit higher by this point, but it's not bad at all. Something to build upon. I'm on about 5 green arrows in a row as well, so hopefully I can keep this momentum running. Starting with this Tony transfer in. If anyone missed it, Isaac to Tony was my transfer this week. What rank is everyone in the chat? Let me know. What rank are you guys? Crewmate says, can I have a link to the Discord? I'll pin it. I'll pin the Discord. There we go. Replace pinned message. I've pinned a link to the Discord. If you're not a member, I'll be on there straight after this stream finishes. And throughout this game week. It's good to have FPL back, isn't it? Are we buzzing or what? Good to have FPL back. 3k overall. You're joking. Top 50? Surely not. Top 3k? Side, if you're top 50, make sure you're in the FPL Focal League. You know what, actually, I haven't recommended the league for a long time. If you want to join, the link to join the FPL Focal Mini Leagues in the description. Your points start from Gameweek 1, so it's not too late. And the code's in the description as well. So make sure you do that before we hit the deadline, because then it's too late to join this game week. The code is OHQB6D, but that code's in the description along with the auto join link. Top 3k, some great ranks in the chat. 1.6 mil, 94k, 1. There's no way we've got world number 1 in the chat, because I know who that is. I did an interview with him early this week. Really nice guy. He made his local papers, actually. We've been chatting on Facebook a bit. Really, really cool guy. Should I play Soufal or Zaha? I think I play Zaha. Chase the upside, always there. Right, let's have a look at the most transferred players. Most transferred in player is Maddison. Over 500,000 have transferred in Maddison. And he's still a differential. I think he's still under 10% owned. Second is Tony. Also just over 500,000 new transfers. It's kind of those two and then the rest. I'm surprised to see Saliba up there. You know, he's got 2 tough fixtures. And then Leeds, good fixture. And then a blank. Gameweek 13 is the time to start bringing in Arsenal assets again, in my opinion. So I'm looking at the likes of Saliba and Saka, because I'm going to be selling Saka in all likelihood. Zaha's up there, Trippier, Mitrovic, James. A lot of sensible ones this week. Most transferred out. Now these are surprising, and some of these are definitely not sensible. Jesus is the most transferred out. I can kind of understand that. You know, Tony and Mitrovic are cheaper, and they have more points this season. Isak, yeah, obviously. Salah and Trent. Now that's surprising as well to see them among the most transferred out. You know, Salah even dropped in price last night, 12.8 mil. Really surprised by that one. Gross, Perisic. The rest is fairly logical. Luis Diaz, not sure about that this week, but maybe people on the wild card. De Bruyne, again, not sure about that one. I actually made a graphic which I posted yesterday. And this might surprise you guys. This is FPL points scored this year, so 2022, not this season, this year. And Son has scored more points than anyone this year, followed by Kane, and then followed by De Bruyne. And in terms of points per game, after Haaland, De Bruyne is second this year. So an interesting one there. 5:24 AM, time for bed. Thanks for tuning in, Tom. Appreciate it. Where is Solanke? I think it's just our corner of the FPL community that are all in on Solanke. I think in the bigger picture, he's not being considered as much. Yeah, my transfer in is Tony. Isak to Tony. Shell asks who to get if you can't afford Tony. If you can't afford Tony, then Mitrovic if you haven't got Mitrovic. In fact, he's even more, isn't he? No, he's not. Yeah, Mitrovic if you haven't got him. If not, probably Solanke. Who scores the most points out of Tony, Mitrovic and Jesus? I'd say Mitrovic out of those three, and then Tony, and then Jesus. Jesus is probably a very good transfer in, actually, Gameweek 13 onwards, for that final 4 game weeks before the World Cup. Pugs Will Rule says, how are you today? I'm very good. I'm in a good mood. FPL's back. Got a great turnout to the stream. Almost 2k tuned in right now, which is just mental. But, you know, how can I not be in a good mood? FPL's back. Looking forward to another game week. Isak injury was a bit frustrating. As soon as I brought him in, I had to get rid of him. I have to say, I've actually been a bit unlucky with my transfers. So I'm happy with my rank considering 320k. I brought in Rodrigo, right, a few game weeks ago. And then he dislocated his shoulder like 20 minutes into the game, 1 point. And then I brought in Trossard and he gets a postponement. Had to get rid of him straight away. And then I bring in Isak, gets injured, have to get rid of him straight away. But they've been like quite sharp transfers. Trossard did well for me in the 1 game I had him. Isak did well for me in the 1 game I had him. So I'm at least happy as well with the fact that the transfers have been pretty sharp. Immediate returns. CFJW says, KDB and Isak to Salah and Solanke, -4. Can't afford Tony. I don't think I would sell KDB from -4. I can understand it. Some people are doing that move. I don't think I would do it myself. But go with your gut on that one. You know, I know some people are selling KDB for Salah from -4. I looked at it. I could do those exact moves myself, and I decided against it. But it was a bit different because I could afford Tony. If it was me, I probably wouldn't do the -4. I mean, we look at the projections, right? Salah's not projected to outscore De Bruyne by 4. Where is it? There. He's projected 7.3, right? and De Bruyne's 5.5. So what's that, 1.8 difference? So he's not projected to outscore him by enough to repay that hit. And then you're going to be sweating when we get to Game Week 10 when City are home to Southampton. You know, if De Bruyne starts that one, it could be a really good game for De Bruyne. I understand there is that rotation risk. So I would just say go with your gut on that one. It's not a -4 I would personally take. To Tender, thank you for the donation. He says, do you have any ideas on a new FPL tool or one that works better than currently exists? I'm a software developer looking for a side project. Yeah, drop me a DM. I've got a couple of ideas. If you're on Twitter. Yeah, I've got a couple of ideas. I've always got ideas floating around in my head. It's a bit out of control. Sometimes when I go to bed at night, I don't know if this is like a thing that other people do, but when I go to bed at night and close my eyes, that's when I seem to have like a clear idea of ideas and stuff comes to me. And that's where most of my best ideas have come from. So I quickly write it down on my phone before I forget and fall asleep. But some of my ideas are pretty shocking. Like, let me find it. I was messing around with AI to see if I could create footage of footballers to include on streams. Because I was thinking if I can have videos of players rather than static photos in my videos, then that kind of adds a level and it will take the content to another level. But it came out a bit weird. So I'm not sure about that one. You know, like how broadcasters have this, they have these proper graphics for footballers. Imagine FPL content that had that. That would take FPL content to a whole new level, but the AI is not quite at that level yet. Russell says, same team as yours, except you've got Kane and Zaha and Patterson to KDB, Isaac and Nico. I need to get rid of Saka soon. Is Saka to Sinistera a good move? Nice 6-week fixtures. For me, I would put Zaha and Maddison ahead of Saka. I don't know if you've got either of those or both, but if not, yeah, I don't mind the Sinistera pick. I think he's a good shout. Yeah, I don't mind the Sinistera pick at all. Good underlying numbers. But on a wild card, I would have... So on a wild card, my perfect midfield would be Salah, Maddison, Zaha, Martinelli, and Andreas. Salah, Maddison, Zaha, Martinelli, and Andreas. That'd be my midfield. So you've got Zaha already. So I don't know if you can get to Maddison or not. You got Zaha. Yeah, if not, Sinistera is not a bad shout at all. Like you say, good fixtures. Can't think of anyone else, really. I assume you've got Martinelli already as well. Thoughts on Jared Bowen? He's not got a single return so far this season, so he's not a player I'd transfer in. But if I had him, I would hold, basically. You know, it's a good fixture this week, playing at home. I would keep hold of him for sure, but I wouldn't be looking to bring him in. Half an hour to go to the deadline. If you have enjoyed the stream, please do hit like, everyone. I do prepare lots of content for these streams in advance. Late one last night preparing to make the stream a bit more enjoyable and interactive. So do hit like if you have enjoyed it so far, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I appreciate that a lot. And keep the questions coming in. I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. Start Fofana or Andreas? I think I'll start Andreas between the two there. Martinelli or Soufal? Martinelli. Thoughts on Solanke? Yeah, you get what you pay for. I think he's going to chip him with goals here and there. But Bournemouth have been really, really poor in terms of underlying attacking stats, expected goals. He's missed a few games of injury, admittedly. Perhaps that's affected that as well, plus bad fixtures. But he's not a bad shout. You know, good enabler. But for me, it was a no-brainer, Solanke, because I had to sell Isaac, so it was Tony for me. Carla says, great stream. Start one of Perisic, Bailey or Pereira. Tricky one that. That's a really tricky one. Let me know in chat who you would start out of Perisic, Bailey and Pereira. You just don't know if Bailey will start or not. If Bailey starts, then he would be the one. It's just a bit of a gamble on Bailey. I like his fixture. I think it's a good fixture. I think I would go with Perisic just about. Just about. Really close on that. Russell says, yeah, you've got Maddison and Zaha as well. Yeah, I think it has to be Sinistera in that case. I can't think of anyone else. You've got Martinelli, I assume, because you said same team. I can't think of any mids around that same price point that are better than Sinistera. So, yeah, he'd be the one. Thanks for the donation as well. Jonathan Bradley says, already got Guehi, who's the best 4.5 mil defender for a few weeks. Fofana, Soufal, Johnny, Dallo. I think it would be Zuma, actually. I think I'd go Zuma. Is Johnson back for West Ham? I'm not sure if he is, but the problem with Soufal, he's not totally safe. He's not completely nailed. So even he's a little bit of a risk. Ben has had a week and a half training. He's closing in on fitness. Potential return 1st of October. 75% chance. I think it would be Zuma. Is there anyone else? Zuma, I would definitely start him this week. If you don't need to start him this week, then yeah, probably Dallo instead. But yeah, I think Zuma. Thanks for donation, Mohit, as well. Appreciate that. There's no message with that one, but appreciate that. Thank you. Andrea says, is doubling up on Mendy and Kepa viable? You know what? I think it actually is. It only costs you 0.1 mil more than Pope and Ward, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't hate it, but it does eat up 2 Chelsea spots. And I'd probably want to have Reece James as well. So, you know, if Mount or Sterling start flying, then, or, you know, Broja suddenly breaks into the starting 11, then you can't get to them, basically. So that's just something to consider. But yeah, I think it's definitely viable, definitely. Callum says, start Walker-Peters, Emerson Royale or Cucurella. Cucurella's out with illness, so it's between the first two. Who have Southampton got? Can't remember the fixture. Southampton have Everton at home. Yeah, Walker-Peters, definitely. No brainer, that one. You'd imagine Spurs concede. I'd be surprised if they can keep a clean sheet anyway. Last season it was 3-0 to Arsenal at the Emirates. But it's a very volatile fixture, to be fair. Scoreline predictions for the North London derby. I'll go 2-1 Arsenal. Mohit says he's got James, Nico, Cancelo, Trippier in the wildcard draft this week. I'm considering Saliba or Dallo. Saliba or Dallo, 5 mil as replacements. Who else can I get? Not Saliba, definitely not Saliba. His next two are tough fixtures. Then he's got Leeds, which is a good fixture, and then it's a blank. So I would say not Saliba. Dallo is a good shout. I'm trying to think of any other options. Let me have a look at what FPL reviews suggest him. We were talking about Zuma. I think Zuma is actually not a bad shout at all. It's a very, very good fixture for West Ham, home to Wolves. This season, Wolves have scored 3 goals in 7 games, which is the joint fewest in the league. And they're 4th worst for expected goals this season. So I think Zuma's a good shout. Let me just check if there's anyone I've not considered. Bear with me. So over the next 5, in fact, yeah, Zuma's the top projections over the next 5. James Justin's the other one for 4.3 mil. Guehi, I've seen him in a few wildcard drafts for 4.3. But purely on projections, Zuma's top. It just depends which games you need to start Zuma in. Because Gameweek 12, you don't really want to be playing him because he's got, I think he's got City then. No, he's got Liverpool then. If you need someone that you can start in Gameweek 12, though, I would get Guehi or Justin instead. Yeah. I think I'd be very tempted to go for Guehi for 4.3 mil. Really, really cheap. If you need to start him this week, Justin, basically. Otherwise, Guehi. Ben says start Pope or Everson. I'm starting Everson. I don't think he'll start. I'd be surprised, but arguably he deserves to. You know, Ward's been awful. I think they've considered a record number of goals so far this season. So you would say Ward deserves to start. Sorry, Everson deserves to start. Pingu says start Soufal, Fofana or Nico Williams. I would start Soufal between those. Yeah, Sufal. Sleeper or James? James. Maddison or Bowen? Maddison for Bowen or keep Bowen? I would give Bowen another week. Good home fixture. I would give Bowen another week. B reckons 1-1 for the North London derby. 3-1 Arsenal, says Stanley. 3-0 says Kennedy. 1-0 to the Arsenal. 1-1. Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I hope anyway. Yeah, I've got Saka and Martinelli, so I'm doubled up. I'm all in on Arsenal. Is there any merit to starting Ward over Pope? Yeah, I've started Everson just in case he gets the nod. We've been talking about him a bit this stream. In terms of the clean sheet odds, Leicester have a 34% chance. And Newcastle, where are they? 29%. So basically, there's not much in it. 5% likelier to keep a clean sheet according to the bookies. So I'm just going with the numbers there. And also my thinking is that it leaves me a bit less exposed to Newcastle because I'm doubled up with Pope and Trippier. So if Mitrovic scores, then he wipes out 2 clean sheets. But realistically, I'll probably get Pope off my bench anyway. Elias says, who's better to captain, Maddison or Tony? Maddison, in my opinion, between those two. Michael says Fofana or Saliba. Does Fofana start? We don't know 100%. You know, Potter's first league game in charge. We don't know what's going to happen there, how he's going to line up. I would say this week Fofana would start. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't because Cucurella is out. But yeah, it's hard to say. Cucurella could be, you know, obviously he's Potter loves him because he came from Brighton. But so perhaps it could be Cucurella left centre back, Chilwell left wing back longer term. Not this week because Cucurella is out. But I think Fofana starts this week, so Fofana. Matip or Perisic to start? Matip. Mitro or Jesus? Mitro. Captain Haaland or Salah? This is kind of the same as Game Week 8, right? There were some good options in Game Week 8, and they outscored Haaland. In Game Week 8, De Bruyne, Son, Kane all outscored Haaland. So those that were bold enough to go for to bet elsewhere were rewarded, basically. And it's going to be the same this week. Haaland's the most popular captain. If Haaland isn't your captain, then you lose rank for every point Haaland gets. But there is, of course, big ground to be made up if the player you choose over Haaland outscores him. So it's that risk and reward. In my case, I don't have Salah, so it's a bit of an easier decision for me. Bowen to Jesus. I wouldn't be bringing in Jesus, if that's what you mean. And also wouldn't be bringing in Bowen. Mitrovic might be injured. Yeah, we did a brief news roundup earlier in the stream. And Silva said, in the first game, as you know, he came off after the 3rd goal. And then in the last game, he played 90 minutes. So he played the 90 minutes against Norway. He said, we have to assess him to see, but he will be available. So it sounds pretty promising as far as Mitrovic owners are concerned. Bray says, -4 for Saka to Maddison. I don't think I'd do it for a -4 myself. I don't think I'd do it for a -4. Yeah, I can't see it. You know, Saka's been doing really well. Returns in his last 4 games in a row. He's not really giving you any reason to sell. I know it's a great fixture for Maddison, but I'm very I try to avoid hits whenever possible, so I don't think I'll do -4 Saka to Maddison ever in my team. Charlie Clement says, punt on Mbumo for Isaac, 0.1 mil short for Tony. I haven't really considered Mbumo. I don't think he's done much this season, has he, either, to be fair. So I don't think I would. I'd rather just go for Solanke over Mbumo. I don't expect him to do a significant amount either, but I think I would rather Solanke. Matthew says, wildcard squad. This isn't a wildcard, but if I was on a wildcard, I would have Trent over Cancelo, Salah over De Bruyne, and then the rest would be the same. Sorry, I'd also have Zaha over Saka. Other than that, it'd be the same. So on a wildcard, I would have Zaha over Saka, Salah over De Bruyne, and Trent over Cancelo. 3 differences to this team, basically. Jonathan says, Trippier or Sufar, is Everson playing? I would start Trippier. Is Everson playing? hard to say. We're talking about him a lot on this stream, and basically, Ward's not been good. They've conceded a record number of goals so far this season, so arguably, Iversen deserves a shot. Last season, he was player of the season for Preston in the Championship. Admittedly, I don't know much about him, but I know that. So arguably, he deserves a chance to play. But I don't know how he's been training. Maybe he's even worse than Ward in training. Hard to say. Annoyingly, the fixture, I think, is on Monday. So we don't even know, as far as leaks, whether Iversen plays or not. Sam Martin is our Leicester in the know. Good friend of the channel. In fact, he's tweeted about 15 minutes ago about Ward and Iversen. I'll just put up this tweet for his thoughts. This is his team. He's a Leicester in the know, so he tends to leak the lineups. And he says, I know I said I think Ward starts. I still do, but Iversen saves 0.1 mil. So he's on a wildcard, I think. And his opinion is that Ward starts. I'm starting Iversen just in case that's not the case. He tweeted yesterday, actually, as well, saying that he thinks it's 65-35 in favour of Ward starting. So, not a dead cert by any means, but he thinks that's what's going to happen. Rashford or Sinistera? I'd say Sinistera, because Rashford is coming back from injury. It's not clear if he starts, as far as I'm aware. I think he only just returned to training, so maybe he's a bit of a doubt. Maybe Ronaldo starts and Rashford on the bench, something like that. Hard to say. I think Rashford's better longer term, but not this game week. You know, they're up against City, best defence in the league, so I would say Cine. Heike News says, hi Oscar, Solanke and Trent or Tony and Trippier on a wild card. That's a really good one, that. I mean, that one, that's a complete coin toss, that one. I would have Trent on a wild card, so I think I would say the first option. But that's really close. You know what? I think I would have the Tony option. I just think Brentford are much more attacking side. Their fixtures aren't bad at all. And Tony's got a point to prove. He gets called up on international duty, and Southgate doesn't even give him a single minute. He still hasn't made his England debut. Rightly or wrongly, I think it was a bit harsh for him not to get a single minute. I think he wasn't even in the squad for one game. So we've got 7 or 8 game weeks before the World Cup. He's got a point to prove. He wants to tell Southgate, look, I'm good enough to be in your squad and to be coming on as a sub. He wants to tell Southgate I should be starting for you even. Not going to happen ahead of Kane, but, you know, there is that side to the game which is kind of immeasurable sometimes. The psychological side. Something that the data won't tell you, but I think sometimes we have to factor that in. Similarly, at the end of the season, some players and teams don't have anything left to play for. You know, if they're firmly mid-table, what have they realistically got left to play for? Motivation can drop. So that's kind of my thinking. And my gut tells me Tony, and I want to follow my gut on this one, basically. Long speech. Watch the if it goes horribly wrong and Solanke does better, then I'm going to look a right clown. But that was my thinking with the Tony transfer. And he does make my future transfers a bit more awkward because I want to get De Bruyne to Salah, which is going to be difficult because I've got 0.1 mil in the bank. But that's my thinking as far as Tony. What do you think about Saka captain? I wouldn't captain Saka. That's a bold one. Would you start a Kanji or Brennan Johnson? What? Brennan Johnson. I would start Brennan Johnson. You're playing anti-FPL, Matt. Captain Tony. He's not a bad captain shout at all. I wouldn't captain him myself, but yeah, he's not a bad shout at all. We've got under 15 minutes till the deadline. Appreciate you all tuning in, by the way. We've got over 2k or thereabouts tuned in. If you have enjoyed the stream so far, do hit like. I hate asking for likes, but it makes a massive difference on the YouTube algorithm. If a video or stream isn't getting likes or comments, then the YouTube algorithm basically says I'll push it below this other video because that other video is more favoured. So that's why, annoyingly, we have to ask on videos because the data shows people are 20 times likelier to like if you ask them. So that's why I ask for likes and subscribes. So like and subscribe, guys. Thanks, Loco, for liking. And Tongue for the like as well. Mountworth getting on a wild card. On a wild card, I would put Maddison, Zaha, Martinelli all ahead of him. On a wild card, my midfield would be Salah, Maddison, Zaha, Martinelli, and Andreas. Salah captain? Yeah, Salah's a good captain shout, definitely. He's top of FPL Review's projections, not by much. Kennedy says, you actually did some research on liking. You've got my like. Yeah, I'm a bit obsessive when it comes to YouTube and, you know, I don't know what the word is. YouTube optimization. Doing everything that you're meant to do to successfully grow. So I try to. But it's like, I hate it when people ask for likes, so I can understand if you guys would hate it as well. But it's like one of those things you just have to do, because otherwise people just don't, if that makes sense. Which has a knock-on effect in terms of views and whatnot, and the YouTube algorithm recommending your video. Start Bailey or Andreas. I think I'd start Andreas just about. Play Zaha or Trippier. Oh, Trippier, I think. That's really close as well. Got some tough 50-50s in the chat here. Thoughts on Diego Costa? Not in my thinking at all. What is he, 5.5 mil? Not for me. I would rather find the 0.2 for Solanke or go all the way up to a Tony Mitrovic type player. Analytics. Yeah, that's probably a better word. YouTube analytics. Pinky says, watching through Apple TV doesn't give the like button. I did wonder if people watch on Apple TV or not, because I've got an Apple TV as well. And I don't know how I lived before it, by the way, because they're an absolute game changer. They're so, so good. I use it for everything, like Now TV, BT Sport, watching the football, YouTube, Twitch. Thanks all those that are saying in the chat, you've got my like. Appreciate that. Thank you. Trossard or Andreas? I think I'd start Trossard there. It's going to be interesting to see how De Zerbi does. Very, very difficult first game in charge. Away to Liverpool. Doesn't get much tougher than that. Especially as far as your first games in charge. Max, thank you for the 11 months. He says he's on a wild card. Salah or KDB, bearing in mind Haaland's my only other City player. On a wild card, I love Salah personally. It's a close one. We'll do a poll actually. Let's see what chat thinks. I probably shouldn't have given my opinion because it might influence the results, but I think chat will probably generally agree. On a wild card, you'd probably have Salah over KDB. It's close, don't get me wrong, but I think I'd have Salah on a wild card personally. I did a video over the break on my opinion of the best wildcard, and I had Salah in that. So I still believe that. It's close though, you know, De Bruyne, interestingly, this calendar year has more points per game. But City blank in Gameweek 12, so it saves you a transfer, because realistically you're going to be doing De Bruyne to Salah, and you want to minimise booked in transfers as much as possible. But thank you for the 11 months. If anyone else is interested in becoming a member or patron, links are below. It's like a couple of quid. Supports the channel. You get a badge by your name. Early access to my videos. Yeah, private channel on the Discord where I'm online every day chatting. So a few little perks you get as well. Thank you for 11 months. Big one next month, Max. November for the 1 year. You might be the first to 1 year even, actually. Simran says, Jesus to Vardy or Jesus and Elliott to Maddison, and who for a -4? Definitely, I wouldn't go Vardy. It's too risky after being benched twice. So I'd get rid of Jesus and Elliott. For Maddison, and I don't know who you can afford. Can you afford Tony or Mitrovic if you don't own them? Mitrovic or Tony, if not Solanke. That would be my moves there. Maddison and one of those three strikers. Mitrovic is the best out of those three, and then Tony and then Solanke. Thank you, Martin, for becoming a member as well. Thank you for the support. Appreciate that, Martin S. Thank you so much. Means a lot. Yeah, it's just with Vardy, right? He's been benched for the last 2 in a row. So it seems risky, unless you mean Vardy to Jesus, but I don't think you mean that. So yeah, I'd sell Jesus to Jesus and Elliott to Maddison and one of those strikers I mentioned. Keep the questions coming in. We've got under 5 minutes till the deadline. Make sure your bench is in the right order, captain on the right player. Is Son a good hold? I would definitely hold him, yeah. He's just got a hat-trick last game week, so it seems like an easy hold to me. Sinistero or Martinelli? I think Martinelli. It just seems like he's a better pick longer term. I know it's not great the next 2, but they're both home fixtures, followed by Leeds. The blank, as long as you can rotate around the blank, and then beyond that, it's great fixtures. Southampton home, Southampton away, Forest at home. So I think Martinelli. And as we said at the very start of the stream in the news roundup, Smith Rowe's out till December after getting surgery. So he's there's no threat or competition for Martinelli's spot. We may see Jesus playing left wing or Nketiah playing left wing at some point, and the other plays through the middle, just to give Martinelli a rest. But there's a real lack of competition there. Kennedy, thank you for becoming a member as well. Thank you. Chat's been unbelievable today. We've had about 4 or 5 new members, so I appreciate that. If any of you need a hand setting up the sync to Discord, just drop me a DM. Basically, you just go into Discord settings, and then you can connect your YouTube account to Discord, and then you automatically get access to the private channel. Ron says, my son Ethan is asking, I've got Haaland and Kane, and I'm an Arsenal fan. Would you bench him? No, this is a difficult one. You have to try and put that kind of bias aside when it's FPL. Even if it means sometimes captaining someone against your own team, if that is actually the most logical thing to do. You know, you feel dirty if it happens, but, you know, imagine Haaland's playing home to Arsenal this week and you're an Arsenal fan and he's the best captain option. In my opinion, you have to captain Haaland. Try and put FPL aside. You're going to feel dirty if it comes off, but you have to try and make them into 2 separate things, right? Oscar says, do I start Saliba, Nico Williams, or Andreas? I would start Andreas out of those 3. I think I would bench Saliba. I think I'd bench Nico. Thank you for the donation, Ron, as well. No message with that one, but thank you, Ron. Another long-standing member as well. Appreciate that. Oh, I'll stop the poll. Forgot to do that. Yeah, Salah was 60% on a wild card. As I said earlier, if anyone's not a member of the Discord, I've pinned the message to join. Loads of useful stuff in there. Automatic channels for price changes, bonus points, lineups, etc. And there's over 11,000 managers in the fplfocal Discord, so it's going to be busy today with FPL back. Can't wait. 3 minutes till the deadline. So those that missed it, my transfer is Isak to Tony. Haaland captain, Maddison vice, Andreas first on the bench. I did have the option to start Andreas over Isak and bench him, but I think it made sense to sell. In my opinion, Tony made more sense than Solanke, so that's what I've done. Perisic or Trent? Trent all day. Yeah, Perisic is he's got Arsenal away while Trent's home to Brighton. Trent all day. Andreas or Martinelli to start. Martinelli. Son of Saka or Salah or Martinelli. Salah or Martinelli. Jesus or Haaland captain. Haaland. It's a good background track for these quickfire questions, isn't it? Why Everson over Pope? Leicester have got better clean sheet odds, and on the off chance that Everson starts, then it does mean I'm a bit less exposed to Mitrovic, because 1 Mitrovic goal wipes out 2 clean sheets for me. Realistically, I'll probably still get Pope off my bench, unless this is finally the week that Everson gets a chance to prove himself. But that's my thinking. Slightly better clean sheet odds for Leicester. Home to Forest, best fixture of the season. They come back from the break. A well-needed break with good fixtures, so I'm hoping they can turn it around, especially as a Maddison owner. Oblivious says, thoughts on Kelly be captain over Haaland? I don't mind it at all. Yeah, it's got potential to come off, but I think Haaland's a better option, basically. Yet to blank, by the way, in all competitions, not just the Premier League, but in all competitions, if I'm not mistaken. Hasn't blanked yet this season. The only blank was technically in the competitions was the Community Shield before the season started. But other than that, yet to blank. He's given me no reason to take the armband off him. So that's why. Delia in the chat, she says, I was afraid for a second that you would get Solanke. Not for me. I can understand people getting him. He's not a bad option for 5.7 mil. You get what you pay for. Bournemouth's attacking numbers have been really poor. Perhaps we'll see an uptick under a new manager, but no, for me it's Tony over Solanke. And yeah, I'm glad that I left myself the money in the bank on the wildcard just in case that happened, because there were some players I could have got, like Zuma instead of Nico, but I decided not to. Thank you, Ron, for the donation. Again, did you mean to include a message, Ron? If you did, I'll try and catch in the chat. Thank you for the donation. 1 minute till the deadline. Final reminder. Let me just double check I've got that sorted. Yeah, good. Looks good. And that is the deadline. Mohammed says the deadline is here. Ray says, and done. This is the part where everyone disappears. So before you all dip, hit like on the stream before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Loads of content to come. Maybe even this weekend, but certainly next week. There'll be a good 3 or 4 videos to come. Of course, every week I do these deadline streams as well, and I appreciate you all tuning in. It's been a really good stream. I've really enjoyed it, and it's good to have FPL back. And the question is, as Lihaj asks, who to raid? Who did we raid? Who's live? Let's have a look. FPL. Whose stream shall we raid, guys? We want to stream one of the smaller channels. Imagine raiding Let's Talk FPL. That'd be such a waste of time. He puts up incredible numbers, Andy. He is an absolute machine. Oh, there's no one else live? Are you serious? Let me filter on live. Maybe I won't even raid this week. I suppose we could just raid Raptor. Oh, here we go. Who should we raid, guys? FPL Link? He's a really nice guy. FPL Link? There's no one else. If you just raid this random Bahrainian Grand Prix. I don't know why that's come up. FPL Kowzi. Should we raid the Bahrainian Grand Prix? Who should we raid? FPL Link? Panchayat? I don't know who that is.
50,000 गुना ज़्यादा
Yeah, FPL Panchayat. I don't think we should raid like FPL Mate or Andy, because they're just such massive channels that is, what's the point? FPL Duo. Oh, we did have they got the actual duo on this time? We raided them once before. Link. All right, Link. We'll go for Link. Really, really nice guy. He makes good content, good graphics. We'll go raid him. Everyone head over to his stream. Tell him fplfocal sent you. I'll see you over there. And as I say, thank you all for tuning in to this deadline stream. I appreciate you all tuning in as always, and I'm very grateful for you being here. I've got nothing else to say other than focal out.